For me, this house is kind of a house of horror.
She's the kidnap victim once known as the girl in the box, imprisoned for 7 years in a wooden crate.
I did think I was gonna die. I was terribly claustrophobic. I was having such a hard time breathing.
The incident began when Colleen Stan, a young woman from Oregon, was traveling to a friend's birthday party in Westwood, California. Without money for a bus ticket, she chose to hitchhike, a decision that didn't feel unusual or dangerous to her at the time. The car that stopped belonged to a family, a husband, wife, and their newborn baby. The husband was Cameron Hooker, and his wife was Janice Hooker. Everything appeared normal. Seeing the baby made Colleen feel safe, and she took a seat in the back. After driving about 30 miles, Colleen asked to use the restroom, and the couple stopped at a gas station. Years later, she would admit that as she walked away from the car, something inside her urged her to run. A quiet instinct told her something was wrong, but she ignored the feeling and returned. When she came back, she noticed a wooden box on the back seat where she had been sitting. She wondered why she hadn't seen it before. Cameron calmly explained it was just for baby supplies. The explanation seemed reasonable, so she got back in the car. Unaware, the box had been hidden under the seat and placed there while she was gone. They continued driving until Cameron mentioned they needed to make a brief stop before dropping her off. Colleen agreed, assuming it would only take a few minutes. But when the car turned off the main highway onto a remote road, her unease returned. Suddenly, Cameron pulled out a knife and pressed it against her neck. Terrified, Colleen tried to resist, but he was stronger. Janice grabbed her arms to stop her from fighting back, while Cameron secured the wooden box, what he called the head box, over her head. Inside, it was completely soundproof and pitch black. Colleen couldn't see. She couldn't call for help. She was sealed in total darkness and silence. After the wooden box was locked over Colleen Stan's head, Cameron Hooker and Janice Hooker drove her to their home. The journey lasted for hours, and the entire time she remained trapped in darkness, unable to see clearly or breathe comfortably. When they arrived, they took her down to a basement that had been prepared in secret. It was fully soundproofed. No one outside could hear what happened inside. Once the box was removed, Colleen finally saw where she was. The basement contained chains and devices designed for restraint and control. It was clear she had not been brought there by accident. Cameron immediately began asserting his authority. He claimed to be part of a powerful organization called The Company, and said that its members were watching her family. If she tried to escape or disobeyed, her family would suffer the consequences. To make the threat believable, he showed her fabricated documents and forced her to sign a contract declaring that she belonged to him. Isolated and terrified, Colleen believed him. She had no way to verify the truth. From that moment on, strict control and abuse defined her life. She was confined, punished, and restricted for long periods of time. Janice occasionally brought her food and water, but never helped her escape. She appeared to follow Cameron's lead, though at times she showed brief signs of hesitation. Cameron established rigid rules. Colleen had to call him master, speak only when permitted, and obey without question. Days turned into weeks. Colleen lost all sense of time in the dark basement, unable to tell day from night. As months passed, Cameron's psychological control deepened. After harsh treatment, he would sometimes show brief kindness, creating confusion and dependency, a common tactic used to break a victim's resistance. Gradually, Colleen's spirit weakened. She began to believe there was no escape, no hope, and no life beyond the walls of that basement. The torture and captivity lasted for 7 years, from 1977 to 1984. During that time, Colleen Stan endured suffering beyond what most people could imagine. Cameron Hooker kept her locked inside a wooden box beneath his waterbed for nearly 23 hours a day. The box was so small she couldn't stand or stretch, and the air inside was hot and suffocating. During the brief moments she was allowed out, Colleen was subjected to both physical and psychological abuse. Cameron constantly warned her that the company was watching her family and that any attempt to escape would result in their deaths. Despite the isolation, Colleen clung to memories of her family. Those memories were the only thing that kept her sane in the darkness. After several years, Cameron allowed her to work outside the house as a maid at King's Lodge. He believed his control over her mind was complete, that she would never run or ask for help. And he was right. Even with access to people, telephones, and the outside world, Colleen never told anyone. She worked, interacted with others, and returned to Cameron's home every day as instructed. Many later wondered why she didn't escape. The answer was simple. She had been fully brainwashed. Colleen truly believed the company was real and that disobedience meant her family's deaths. Years of manipulation had created a twisted psychological bond with Cameron. Cameron even allowed Colleen to visit her family on occasion. They noticed she was different, withdrawn, anxious, and submissive. But she never revealed the truth and always returned to him. These visits were part of Cameron's control. They reinforced the belief that her life belonged to him. Throughout those 7 years, Janice Hooker witnessed everything, but rarely intervened. She lived under Cameron's control as well, paralyzed by fear, until guilt slowly began to surface. In 1984, after 7 years of captivity, Colleen Stan's nightmare finally came to an end. But not through the police, her family, or a dramatic rescue. It ended because of Janice Hooker, the wife of her captor. For years, Janice had watched her husband abuse and torture Colleen. The guilt slowly became unbearable. She also began to fear that one day, Cameron's violence might turn toward her or their children. One day, while Cameron Hooker was away from home, Janice approached Colleen and revealed the truth. "The company doesn't exist," she said. "It was all a lie." Colleen was stunned. For 7 years, she had believed a powerful organization was watching her family and would kill them if she disobeyed. Now she learned it had all been a psychological weapon. Janice told her she was free to leave and that no one would come after her or her family. At first, Colleen couldn't believe it. Fear had been carved too deeply into her mind. But after some time, she found the courage to walk out of the house that had been her prison for 7 years. When Colleen returned home, her family was overwhelmed with relief, but they also saw how much she had changed. She was withdrawn, traumatized, and struggling to return to normal life. At first, Colleen stayed silent about what had happened. She tried to move forward, but the trauma refused to disappear. Meanwhile, Janice could no longer live with her guilt. In November 1984, she went to the police and confessed everything. Investigators were horrified by what they uncovered. They quickly arrested Cameron Hooker and found torture devices, wooden boxes, and overwhelming evidence inside his home. Cameron Hooker was charged with kidnapping, sexual assault, and multiple crimes connected to the 7 years he held Colleen captive. The trial of Cameron Hooker became one of the most shocking criminal cases in American history. The details of what he did to Colleen Stan were so disturbing that even seasoned professionals were horrified. During the trial, Colleen testified about her ordeal. She described years of torture, psychological manipulation, and 7 years of captivity. Her testimony was powerful and helped the jury understand the full extent of Cameron's crimes. Janice Hooker also testified, explaining how Cameron invented the company and used fear to control Colleen for years. In 1985, Cameron Hooker was convicted of kidnapping and sexual assault. He was sentenced to 104 years in prison, effectively a life sentence. However, the case raised troubling questions. The most common one was simple. Why didn't Colleen escape when she had the chance? Many wondered why she didn't ask for help, especially while working at King's Lodge. One explanation is fear. Colleen genuinely believed that disobedience would lead to her family's death. She chose to endure the suffering to protect them. But the case became even more complex when it was revealed that Colleen continued to contact Cameron even after her escape. This raised questions about whether something deeper than fear was binding them together. In psychiatry, there is a condition known as Stockholm Syndrome, where victims develop emotional bonds with their captors. This may partially explain Colleen's behavior, but it remains only a theory. The full truth may never be known. Colleen Stan's case has since become a key example in the study of psychological manipulation, trauma bonding, and the long-term effects of captivity. Today, Colleen has worked to rebuild her life and has become an advocate for victims of abuse and kidnapping, helping others understand why escape is not always simple. Cameron Hooker remains in prison, where he will likely spend the rest of his life. Janice Hooker was granted immunity in exchange for her cooperation. The case stands as a chilling reminder of human cruelty, and at the same time of human resilience and survival. The case of Colleen Stan is not just a story about cruelty. It is a story about control, the kind that doesn't rely on chains or locked doors, but on fear carefully planted and reinforced over time. Many people still ask the same question: why didn't she escape? The answer forces us to confront something uncomfortable. Real captivity does not always require walls. When fear is repeated long enough, when isolation is complete, and when reality is slowly replaced with manipulation, a person can begin to believe that there is no way out, even when the door is open. What happened to Colleen challenges the way we judge victims. It reminds us that survival inside abuse is not weakness, it is adaptation. It is the mind doing whatever it must to stay alive. Psychological control can be stronger than physical restraint, and trauma bonds can feel more powerful than logic. At the same time, her story is also about resilience. 7 years in darkness did not erase her. She survived, she rebuilt, and she chose to tell her story so others could understand how manipulation works and how easily it can happen. Cases like this force us to look deeper, not just at the crime, but at the human mind, at fear, at loyalty, at the strange and complicated ways people survive the unthinkable. If you find yourself questioning what you would have done in her place, that's exactly the point. True crime isn't just about what happened, it's about why it happened and what it reveals about us. If you appreciate thoughtful analysis, deeper psychological insight, and real cases told with respect and clarity, consider subscribing and following this channel. There are many more stories that go beyond headlines, stories that challenge what we think we know about crime, control, and survival.